Hey! Call your dog off! What are you doing?
I thought it was just a careless neighbor with an aggressive dog, until the third attack happened right in front of a deputy. Because that's when he asked her one question, and she went completely silent. Turns out the bites weren't accidents. The complaints weren't about safety. And the house she had just bought next to me? She never planned to live in it. She needed me off my land first. I've lived on my property for 18 years. It's a narrow strip of land wedged between an older county road and a newer housing development that went up about 7 years ago. The neighborhood has neat sidewalks, matching mailboxes, and one of those entrance signs with fake stone and a little pond that nobody is allowed to touch. My place doesn't belong to it. I'm outside the HOA boundary by exactly 12 feet, a survey detail that would later become the most important number in my life. I run a small apiary, bees. Nothing loud, nothing dangerous. Registered, inspected yearly, and approved by the county agricultural office. My hives sit at the far end of my land behind fencing and hedges. In nearly 2 decades, nobody had ever been stung on record. Until she moved in. Her name was Melissa, but nobody called her that. Within a month, the street had renamed her Karen. She moved into the corner house closest to my driveway and walked her Doberman every single morning at exactly 7:10 a.m. Perfect posture, expensive sunglasses, and the expression of someone constantly smelling something unpleasant. That unpleasant thing was me. The first time we spoke, she didn't say hello. She stood at the edge of my gravel driveway and said, "You know bees reduce property values, right? Not good morning. Not nice to meet you." That. I explained calmly the hives were legal and inspected. She smiled, not friendly, more like a note being written in a mental notebook. 2 days later, the dog incident happened. I was replacing a broken hive stand near my front shed when I heard claws scraping pavement. I turned and saw the Doberman sprinting straight at me from across the road. No leash. No hesitation. Just speed. I barely had time to step back before it lunged, teeth catching my sleeve and ripping fabric hard enough to spin me sideways. I hit the ground. The dog didn't keep biting, it circled, barking, agitated, almost performing. Karen jogged over, completely calm. Not concerned. Not apologetic. Annoyed. "Well, you startled him," she said. I was still on the dirt holding my arm. "He ran across the road," I said. "He's protective. Animals sense threats." She looked past me, directly at my bee boxes. That's when I understood the attack wasn't the important part to her. The bees were. I told her she needed a leash. She ignored me and instead pulled out her phone, zooming toward the hives. "Those need to go. Immediately. Children live here. They've been here longer than the houses." She gave a thin smile. "We'll see." And walked away. No apology. 3 days later I received my first complaint notice. Not from animal control. From the HOA. A safety concern investigation. They had no authority over my land. But someone had convinced them to try anyway. I called the number listed. The board member sounded tired before I even finished explaining. "Let me guess," he sighed, "the bees." Apparently she had brought printed articles about allergic reactions and claimed my property posed community-wide liability exposure. The board knew they couldn't enforce anything, but she threatened legal action against them if they didn't act. So they sent letters just to show effort. That was the beginning. A week passed quietly. Too quietly. Then came the second attack. I was checking my mailbox when I heard barking behind me. The Doberman charged again, this time snapping at my leg and actually puncturing the denim. Pain shot up my thigh. Karen shouted his name, but didn't hurry. She filmed. Filmed while he circled me. I limped backward toward my gate and yelled for her to grab him. She did, slowly, still recording. "You see how agitated he gets near your property?" she said to the phone, not me. "This environment is clearly provoking aggressive behavior." I stared at her. "My property didn't cross the road. Your dog did." She ignored that and added, "I'm reporting this to the county as a hazardous agricultural operation." Then she left. That's when it stopped being neighbor drama. It became a campaign. Over the next 2 weeks. County inspector visit. Health department visit. Zoning officer visit. Environmental office visit. Each cleared me. Each time, she filed another complaint. The pattern was exhausting, but pointless, or so I thought. Until the third incident. I came home from town to find her standing inside my gate. Inside. Phone raised, narrating. "I'm documenting unsafe conditions adjacent to residential property." I told her to leave immediately. Instead she backed toward the hives, louder now, performing fear. Her dog strained on the leash, whining, hyper-focused on the buzzing boxes. Then she dropped the leash. Not slipped. Dropped. The Doberman bolted, straight at me again. This time teeth hit skin. My hand. I shouted and kicked backward, managing to close the gate between us. Blood ran down my wrist. And she kept filming. "See? Even the dog senses danger here." I called the sheriff. She smiled when she heard me say it. Smiled. And that was the moment I realized. She wanted official records. For days later she knocked on my door. Polite. Friendly. Completely different tone. "I think we started off wrong," she said. Then she made an offer. To buy my land. For less than half its value. And suddenly every bite, every complaint, every inspection made sense. She wasn't afraid of my bees. She wanted me gone. And I had no idea how far she'd already gone to make that happen. After she left my porch with that lowball offer, I didn't feel angry. I felt certain. Nothing about the last month had been random. People don't spend weeks filing reports, provoking incidents, and documenting everything unless they're building towards something official. And she was way too confident for someone guessing. So instead of reacting, I prepared. That same afternoon I installed cameras. Not just at the driveway, everywhere. Gate. Roadside. Bee yard. Shed. Tree line. Even one pointed toward the county survey marker at the corner of my land. Continuous recording, cloud backup, timestamps. If she wanted documentation, she was about to get more than she could handle. The next morning I also visited the county records office. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for yet, just a feeling something existed on paper before it existed in real life. And I found it. Not a permit. A proposal. A preliminary development inquiry submitted by a small property investment company, using her husband's name. They weren't planning to live there. They were trying to acquire a continuous strip of land connecting the subdivision to the highway behind my property, the only access point wide enough for a second neighborhood entrance. My land was the missing piece. Without it, the project died. With it, the land value multiplied. And if they couldn't buy it normally, they needed a legal reason the county would force changes, restrictions, or seizure pressure. Suddenly the dog attacks made horrifying sense. Official reports. Safety complaints. Aggressive animal documentation. She wasn't just annoying me. She was manufacturing a hazard history. 3 days passed quietly. Too quietly again. Then Friday happened. At 2:18 p.m. my phone alerted, motion detected, bee-yard camera. I opened the feed and felt my stomach drop. Karen wasn't alone. 2 men in reflective vests stood near my fence line placing small orange flags into the dirt, survey markers. Inside my property boundary. I grabbed my keys and drove the 4 minutes home faster than I should have. By the time I arrived, she was confidently directing them. Right there, that matches the plotted access corridor. I stepped out of my truck. Get off my land. The workers froze. One checked his tablet. She didn't. She actually smiled like she'd been waiting for this confrontation. We're confirming measurements for an easement review. There is no easement. There will be. I told the workers they were trespassing and they immediately backed toward the road. They knew liability when they heard it. But she stayed. And then, unbelievably, she unclipped the dog leash again. The Doberman sprinted toward me barking, not even pretending confusion anymore. Straight line. Intentional. But this time I didn't move. Because the deputy stepped out of the second vehicle behind me. He'd arrived responding to my earlier call when I saw strangers on camera. The dog stopped short at his command. Silence fell over the yard. He looked at my bandaged hand, then at her, then asked calmly. "Ma'am, why does your dog keep attacking this property owner?" She opened her mouth, confident, ready with her usual speech. Then he added. "And why are you placing development markers beyond your parcel boundary?" Everything changed in her face. Confidence didn't fade. It collapsed. She tried to explain it was a misunderstanding, that she thought the boundary extended further, that the dog was reacting to bees again. But the deputy had already watched my camera footage. All of it. The leash drops. The filming. The repeated approach. He said one sentence that ended it. "Ma'am, this appears to be intentional provocation to generate official incidents." For the first time since I met her, she had no response. Animal control arrived within 20 minutes. Not for my bees. For her dog. Multiple documented bites plus recorded release toward a person equals a dangerous animal designation pending investigation. She began arguing, loudly, until they informed her the footage mattered more than opinions. Then the county zoning officer arrived. Because the deputy requested him after seeing the survey flags and development inquiry. He already knew about the proposed access road. He did not know they were attempting to pressure acquisition. Until that moment. Her husband showed up halfway through, furious and panicked, not at me, at her. Apparently the proposal was still confidential pending approvals. And now it was part of a harassment report. By evening the situation flipped completely. Instead of me defending my property, they were explaining theirs. Trespassing warning issued. Dangerous dog investigation opened. Interference with agricultural operation documented. Attempted coercive acquisition noted in county report. But the real consequence came a week later. The development company withdrew their inquiry. The county flagged the application due to disputed acquisition conduct. No access road. No expansion. No increased property value. The entire project died. I saw her one last time a month later. No sunglasses. No power walk. No dog. Just a moving truck. She didn't look at me while boxes were loaded. But right before leaving, she walked to the edge of the road and said quietly. "You ruined everything." I shook my head. "No, you tried to manufacture a problem that didn't exist." Then I added. "All I did was let you finish your plan on camera." She got in her car without another word. And for the first time since she moved in. The neighborhood was silent. The bees kept working. And nobody ever complained again.